Hey, Martin, how's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm fine. And you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm sorry for the delay, man. I just saw the email saying that we were good for the interview and had to put my kid down for a quick nap.
All right. No, because you're actually quite lucky because I thought, okay, 5 more minutes, and then I'll log off because, I appreciate
that's okay, though.
It's all right. Hey, don't worry about it, Shit happens.
That's right. Well, listen, I don't have anything prepared. I'm very prepared for interviews, but I thought I'm not going to not talk to Martin van Drunen, so I figure we'll just kind of wing it and see what's going on in your life and what's going on right now. So if that's all right with you.
Yeah, it's perfect. Usually those are the best interviews anyway, And now really, sometimes you have like people, well, I must admit, like lately, especially over the last years, it seems that people really, give an effort in making things interesting. So it's not really standard, but sometimes, you do have a couple from which you can really hear that they, just read something from some,
Yeah.
So I prefer this way, actually.
Well, that's good. Well, how do you feel about interviews in general? Because, it's got to be, you got to do a lot of them. Do you like giving away the secrets of the album, or do you like keeping things more, up to the listener?
No. First of all, like up to the listener, yeah. But I like doing interviews. There's obviously there's a lot of, let's say like colleagues in the metal business that really, are bored by doing the whole PR circus. But no, for me, no. I always enjoy doing that. You should be grateful for all the attention that you get actually as a band, or as an artist, whatever you may call it. Yeah. So it's just, if people would not show any interest at all, well, you're doing something very, very wrong then, you're not going to go anywhere. It's just like that. But I like to talk about, of course, a lot of people do not know certain things that, the process of making the album or what's behind the album, what's, those little details that you cannot find on, booklets that are included with the CD or the album or whatever, so yeah.
I know for me, it's like when I read a cool, an interview with a band that just put out an album or a podcast, something like this, and I hear certain things that the band wanted to convey, or they did this different on it, or whatever it is. Sometimes it's something I'm not even thinking about, and for me, it usually makes me a little more excited about the album. I know a little bit more about what they were trying to do, and then you can kind of pick those pieces out.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. For me, it goes the same. I'm not reading that many interviews, of course, because I've got so much stuff to do. And then, the whole internet, and then it's impossible to keep up with everything. Simple. But like as a kid or when I was younger, when I bought my albums, definitely I just I laid my hands on everything I could get from those bands just to, find out what, everything about that album that I was buying. So, I understand.
When you were young, were you into like the getting into like zines and things like that, or where were you getting your info from?
Well, because I'm a bit older, I'm like 54 now. So, when I was buying albums, there were not many magazines. There was no real underground kind of stuff, Here in the Netherlands, let's just say when I was like a teenager, when I really got into more extreme metal like Venom and the new wave of British heavy metal in general, I think the most... From the Netherlands, I think everybody knows Aardschok, the magazine, because they did the Dynamo festivals back then. But that was still in black and white. And so, it was like a really small magazine. And I had to get my stuff from, like Kerrang from England or, and there were a couple of things that were really small, It was really hard to get on. There were not really like a lot of magazines that were specialized in metal or in hard rock in general, So... Lots of things I just got out of the hit parade kind of stuff. If they had like a poster all of a sudden of some band, I go, oh, cool, I buy it just for that.
Right.
It was a bit rough.
What about, so did you have, when you started getting into the more extreme stuff, did you have anybody, that you were tape trading with, or that was showing you some of the stuff, like an older brother or a friend that was kind of already getting into it, or did you find all that stuff on your own? Like Venom you mentioned and stuff like that, No,
Venom I discovered there was like a Dutch radio show. I always and if you play Venom, and of course like they were playing quite some extreme stuff, but no, it was really a cool show. It was like the name is Stampede. It means it's almost like stampede or something, translated. And there was a woman, like she was actually a vocalist in a band called Wild Honey, but was not really a hard rock band in the Netherlands, but she was doing a fantastic job. And then all of a sudden I heard Venom, and it was I think they were broadcasting like 9 or 10 o'clock, and actually I had to be in bed by then, so I was listening with my headphones on. But then, yeah, I heard Venom, and I was like, bro, what the fuck is this? So the next day, I went straight to the record store, which was, I had to go with bicycle, which was 12 kilometers away from here, like, what's it all saying? Let's say like 9 miles, you know. And then, I went in there, and then I said to the guy, like, Venom, welcome to hell, I want that. And he goes, are you sure? I go, yes. And then I heard the first song, and I go like, oh wow, this is for me. And then, by the time I had a couple of friends that were really into the extreme, so everybody was like, well, Venom, this is, at the moment, Welcome to Hell was the most extreme album that ever came out. And then we kind of stayed in contact, and then, you know, the kind of roller coaster started slowly rolling, you know, with Hellhammer coming and all kinds of more extreme stuff. We were already listening Motorhead or Priest or Diamond Head, Jaguar, Maiden, you name it, you know, everything that came, Saxon, the stuff that came from England. Yeah. So we had a little circle here that was, you know, into metal. And yes, because as a kid you could not buy all the records that you wanted because you didn't have the money. So, you know, we kind of, unless the album was of course like you really wanted to have, but we kind of agreed to each other, okay, if you buy that one and I buy that one, then we can tape it from each other, you know, with cassette tapes. That was the kind of way. That was the, you know, the equivalent of what they call downloading right now. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm 33, but even for me, you know, when I used to want to get like a song on the radio, I mean, I would throw the tape in the cassette player, you know, in the radio or put a radio right up to it and record it like that, you know, wait for it to come on. So, I mean, that was at least how I was starting off to get my own stuff when I couldn't go and afford a CD.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I did the same, you know, with the metal shows, because that one was like an extreme metal show, but since there was not so much, you know, what was, so they were playing, all kinds of stuff, you know, like YNT or Picture, you know, and then I heard Venom, but usually I would tape that show too, so I could hear it afterwards, and you know, if I forgot the name of some, exactly like you did. Exactly. That's cool,
Yeah, so, you had to do what you had to do. Not like exactly. Now. It's a little different now. A little easier.
It is. Yeah, it is.
When so you started off with all that stuff. What was like the first death metal album that you heard then?
I think that has to be Possessed, Seven Churches.
Yeah, right from the start then. You went right in with that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, because the thing is, I mean, the process, what happened for me, you know, it's really easy to remember because, you know, I recall everything of it. You know, after it was Venom, Hellhammer, there was already like Metallica, Kill 'Em All, which was at the time a very extreme album in speed metal. Mm-hmm. And then Slayer came with Show No Mercy. And from there on, it was quite, you know, like natural that all of a sudden you had like these kids from Possessed, like boom, you know, bringing Seven Churches out. We were like, whoa, what's that? You know, like cool. So and then from there, and then you slowly got into, like the demo stuff, because that was also the time when Death was doing their first demos under the moniker of Mantis. Mm-hmm. So that's how it all started rolling.
So so when did you say that this was something that you wanted to dive into?
Well, for me, everything started with Welcome to Hell from Venom as an extreme form, you know, and from there on, it was just, you know, you just wanted to get your hands on everything that was, it was just annoying the neighbors, put it that way.
Like as far as you being in a band though, and with what made you decide that you want to do that? Like, was that around when the first thing you heard, you were like, I want to be in a band, or was there a certain point where you're like, this is when I finally want to jump into this?
Actually, I never thought about that, you know. I mean, when I was really young, let's say like 9 or 10 years old, I was totally into Kiss, you know, and I was miming Ace Frehley a lot, you know, because he was my favorite. But, you know, I never thought about like doing that myself, you know. I thought it was cool. I just thought it was a cool guy, you know, and then with his guitar and the way he was doing and all that. Yeah. So and then we later on, when I became like 15 or 16, I was older, I think 16, 17. Then we had a couple of guys that we knew, but they were in some kind of heavy metal hard rock cover band. But the singer was also a friend of mine. But the guy had like a fantastic voice. He sounded like Ronnie James Dio, really, you know. It's no joke. But the thing is, many times he didn't show up, or he was too drunk. And then it was Patrick O'Malley who later joined me with Pestilence. He came into that practice room just to jam a little bit, and he knew, of course, like also like extreme metal things. And then because Slayer and Metallica were already out, and then because the singer was not there again, and then someone said, does anybody know the lyrics? And I go, yeah, I do. Well, then just grab the microphone and go, whoa, So that's actually my first experience behind that, But I didn't. I was just nervous, because you're a kid, and all of a sudden you have to stand there in front of a band and sing. But I didn't even think about that, I didn't really think about, okay, this is something I wanted to do. Until years later, I met Patrick again, and then all of a sudden, out of my head, I don't know why I said it. He goes, so what are you doing? No. I said to him, so what are you doing nowadays? He goes, I have a band and we're looking for a singer. I said, well, that matches because I'm a singer looking for a band. And I never knew why I said that, because normally I'm not like that at all. That's
funny.
It is. It's really a silly story.
It's cool too. I mean, so it kind of just like fell into your lap, it was basically just, by chance. What was funny about that now is like, you've had so many different vocalists, in like the death metal realm that use your specific vocal style. Because before what you did, I mean, there was not that, no one did that, And now when I hear a band, when I'm trying to describe a band in the podcast, 9 times out of 10, if it sounds like something you're doing, I'm just, everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say it's got that Martin van Drunen vocal kind of quality, Yeah.
What can I say? It developed that way, and I feel happy the way to sing like that goes easy. So you just maintain what you can do best, and fortunately for me that worked out very well throughout time. But it's already a natural thing. I mean, it's not that I of course in the beginning I had to find like the right techniques and then the final voice that that I got on Consuming Impulse really. And from there on, it was just a very logical development. Just trying out like, okay, how far can I get with this? How extreme can I scream? Until when? Where's the kind of frontier? With my vocal cords and all that kind of stuff. And then later on, you get more experienced and you lose a bit let's call it like the juvenile thing, more or less. Where you become let's call it that way. And then you become a man and you get more conscious of kind of things, and it gets all way more easier, than in the start. So, but it's cool. It's really cool, I mean, I can really compare it to the way I was looking up to people like Lemmy or Kronos, So I kind of can understand like what certain kids like. Okay, if they like my voice like that and want to do it, then
Is it kind of weird hearing it though? Like hearing all these bands now that do kind of use that style. It's got to be cool.
It is. No. I'm honored, to that guys try that. And especially it was funny because you're as an American, and there was a time where there was not really a lot. There was not that much going on really in the USA when it comes to old school death metal, but lately. Well, okay, Skeletal Remains is, of course, like a bit older already. But Chris blew me away. I go like, cool, this guy. Yeah. And then they were here in Europe touring with a US band I never heard of. It was called Morphine. And they were having this death style, but then from the Leprosy era. But the kid had a voice like, I saw them live in Paris. So it was like, what? The kid, he sounds like Chuck, Chuck Schuldiner, and I really thought that was cool. And so, now I stumbled into another band called Molder, also US, and they're fantastic voice, these kids. And I go like, it's really cool because, like I said, I'm 54, I'm way over half of my life, and I don't know until how long I can do. But it's cool to know that there's certain kids, who can take it over maybe,
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's cool that you are out there recognizing that too. So do you usually just catch that when you see someone like that live, or do you ever check anything out, seeking out the new stuff?
Both.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I went to Skeletal Remains because I happened to be in Paris because my girlfriend lives there. So, well, not now with the Corona things, I cannot go, but I go there when I can. And then all of a sudden Skeletal Remains played in a really small little venue. But as I knew the guys, so I go, okay, I'm going to check them out. And then they had Morphine with them. I go, okay. So I listened, cool. So that's happens a lot of times. Same with if you do shows on your own, if we play somewhere with Asphyx and you have like support acts, you're going to check a little bit, if you may like them. And if you do like them, you're going to tell them, if you meet them like with a beer, like, hey, we like that, So yeah, it's that way. And sometimes one of the guys comes with hey, Marty, you got to check this out, or or I find something, coincidentally online or whatever. Yeah. It's not that I'm looking for things really, because that's
sure.
Yeah,
that's cool though that you're open to it, because I always expect that with guys like you who have been around for so long, since the start of all this stuff, and I just assume you maybe you don't care about it anymore. But I love hearing that when someone like you is still at least interested enough, and that's cool to check out a band, and especially to let them know it's good, because that's got to mean a lot to, especially a band like Skeletal Remains. If you're telling them you're into that band, it's got to mean a lot to them. Yeah,
but I mean, don't forget that, because we did like the small West Coast tour with them together, and so they provided the backline, and we did 6 or 7 days or something with them. No, not Canada, because they were not allowed in there. But it was really cool. I mean, to hang out with them, a lot younger than us, and they were really cool guys. We really had a great time with them. So it was not just that they were good musicians and playing really good. It's a kind of it's an old school style, but a bit different, because they do know how to play their instruments. I mean, they're really good. But they're also like really good guys to hang out with, So that's a good thing. That brings back also that old vibe and atmosphere, that was so so important also to old school death metal. Yeah. So it's just really, and hanging out with younger guys, keeps you young as well.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you noticed a big difference with like the popularity of death metal? It's been pretty big in the past 5 or more years. Has that helped out like a band like yours at all, with more people, younger fans paying attention?
Yeah, definitely. Because there was a time, I don't know which time span exactly, but I'll put it this way. I mean, 2007, we were back invited for the first show on the Partisan Festival in Germany. And I think like a time span way before that, there was nothing going on in old school death. It was just really the fast stuff, the technical stuff. And there was this genre called black metal. I can't do anything with it. Sorry, but so there was no. It seemed like a buried and forgotten genre, and then all of a sudden there was this revival, and that just keeps on going on right now, and it really helps us. Yes, definitely, because we're one of the older bands and still going strong, and there's not really a lot. Well, there's a couple maybe who try it, but there's really also a lot that. That don't keep up with the standards, that people expect from them. There's not really a lot. Maybe a handful of the really old bands that do it, Yeah. Like Obituary or like Possessed, I mean, they go really strong still,
For sure. Yeah. So I heard somebody was just telling me, I think I just seen it yesterday, that you guys were able to do a show, I think, or must have been over in the Netherlands, with a very small audience. Was it just one show you guys were able to do, or did you guys get multiple?
No. There was, with real audience.
Yeah, with a real audience.
There was 3 shows. Yeah, we're now in February already. Those took place in October, November last year.
Okay.
But they all were in Germany. There were 3 shows, and they were actually called Corona shows because there was a really restricted amount of people that were able to get in, and they had to sit. Wear mouth caps when they were getting a beer. And the first one actually was in a damn church.
Really?
Yeah, it was in a church. So there was there was a double weird experience, like in a church, and then you had everybody sitting in front of you. And for us, that was the first one of the 3. And we were like, we got a weird feeling about this, okay. But okay, we were just happy to play live. And then
for sure,
it turned out fantastic, because they were doing basically the same, but just sitting on those chairs, like sitting and banging their heads and screaming and throwing the horns and all that. So afterwards, it was really cool, especially that the people that came to us and said, like, oh, guys, thanks a lot for doing this, because we were just dying to see a band live again, because for them it's hard as well, not just for the bands that are not able to play live, but also for the fans that cannot witness like a proper live show.
Oh yeah.
So that was a good experience. And then we said for the others, okay, we might try the others as well. And so it was cool. And now we got a new offer. But that's only first in May, because the situation here now in Europe is really everywhere is really drastic. There's lockdowns everywhere. Netherlands, we have a curfew.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then. But okay, that's why we decided to do the stream in January.
How did you like doing that? I watched that.
You watched it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I guess I'm the same way. I mean, I'll say this. I'm pretty picky about live streams. It's obviously never the same as going to a show. But lately, I've just been so missing shows. I've just been trying to watch more and more of the live streams that have been coming out.
Yeah, I imagine. Like you say, there's no shows.
No. Yeah, well, so it was cool. Yeah, but how did you feel about doing that? It's got to be a little different.
It was, but the thing is, like, seeing it from this point of view, I mean, myself, I was like, okay, Asphyx without audience is not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. And then the guys kind of convinced me and Alvin, because our bass player was thinking the same as me, and they said, come on, it's a tradition with Asphyx that we do a release show always with an album, and then just give it a go, and if not Martin and Alvin, then just consider it as a great rehearsal with the band, say, okay, cool, you know what, do it like that. And then they put such a big effort into it to because I was doing all the interviews for the album, and so the guys were organizing everything around that stream. And the venue is around the corner here. We know them. We knew they had a camera crew. We knew they were doing really small little streams of local artists, but hardly had any views. And so yeah, it was quite some organization to prepare everything. And yeah. Afterwards, it was a great experience. First you do these Corona shows with limited amount of people, and then this is the extreme form. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking to myself when I was on stage, okay, so there's actually people now at home watching. How do I interpret that? There's kids on the couch, like throwing beer or whatever, or there's others maybe only watching on their small phones on their bedroom. I don't know. So I just had to figure it, think about, okay, what's the situation? And I tried to anticipate with that. And it was pretty cool because in the end, we did have a great time with the guys just playing those songs live for the first time, Yeah. And considering all the reactions, yeah, we did well, Yeah. So yeah, afterwards it was the only thing to do. And we said, okay, maybe, let's just fingers crossed actually that we never have to do it again,
right?
Because that would mean that everything will be over and then we can play normal shows again.
Yeah,
but
right.
It was for this kind of event. It was cool. I was okay with it. Yeah, it was fun. Put it that way.
Yeah, I like I said, I like how you were interacting with it. Was kind of funny. You kept it loose. Like it was entertaining for sure. But so all right, man. With the new album, I've listened to it quite a handful of times so far. I mean, I really loved the last one you guys did too, and I just feel like you guys are, I don't know, it's wild how good these albums still are from you guys. But one thing that I like too is that little added bit, at least to my ears, there's a little bit of extra melody in there, and I always like the stuff that you're involved with, like whether it's Hail of Bullets, and some of those songs, like I think like Berlin, I'm thinking of from like the Frost and Winter or Frost and War. I forget what that's called now. But you know what I'm saying? Those songs that have a little extra that melody in them combined with your voice, I really love that. Was that something that you guys wanted to add a little extra on this album or what?
No, we don't think about that when we start doing things.
Okay.
And to be honest, I had no idea what Paul had in mind. When we put it this way, so we start to finally arrange the songs all together in the studio, and then we do like a kind of a studio jam, and in this case, it took us 2 weekends, to finish all the arrangements. Of course, all the material was there already before, but you just have to, finalize the songs and arrange everything and make the final composition. But then you have like the rough drum tracks and the rough guitar guides, and that's all I have to write my lyrics on then. And then I have no idea what Paul is going to do more with his guitar. So when he came, for example, with the end of Molten Black Earth, I had no idea he was doing a melodic lead there. And with the other thing was on Blazing Oceans. That was cool because I actually adapted my lyrics to his first melody part. So when the torpedo comes in, then all of a sudden he starts to give that chilling melody. Like you actually see that, and he told me, like, Martin, I just saw that torpedo like coming into that oil tanker. So it works both ways. when we started working on the album, we didn't think of it. The only thing we did know was that on Incoming Death, we were, we kind of widened our frontiers, which is a big phrase for a very conservative band as Asphyx is, really. but
Sure.
That was on the Grand Denial, and we had no idea how people would, if people would even like it at all. And afterwards, we got really overwhelming reactions. So that's where we knew, okay, we may do, a few other things because, people do appreciate it. And I think that's where Paul thought also, okay, now let's see what I can do with, for example, 3 Years of Famine.
Yeah.
Where we, when I heard that stuff.
I love that one.
Yeah, me too. Me too, absolutely. I mean, all the credits go to Paul because I heard it. And I knew what he was going to do with his melodies. And I said to him, well, what's the point of me, putting a shitload of lyrics into this? It's going to ruin it. So I kept it really basic with the vocal.
Yeah, but I was going to say all the credit to Paul, but at the same time, I'm not exact. I never looked into what it's about yet, but you can tell, obviously the name of it, about famine, and it really, combines really well with the music, and it adds a little extra, layer to it. What is the overarching story on that song?
It's
behind the lyrics.
It's the Great Famine that was in China on the Mao during what they were calling the Great Leap Forward, which was in fact the Great Leap Backwards, to be honest. And it's China back then in those days was really, really close. I mean, they still. Because I just read today that they were shutting off BBC World News for China. So, they still don't get the free information that we are getting, So it's still like the Communist Party there in charge. But on the Mao, with that famine, it was just such bad mispolitics. And he didn't care. He really didn't care how many people were dying. So that estimates go up to 40 to 50 million people that died. And you go that's basically the population of a country like France. It just dies. And then I didn't know the song title, what I was going to do. And then apparently in the Chinese calligraphy, that period is the calligraphy for it is 3 years of famine. That's what they say. So I took that over, and I also explained it to Paul. And Paul said, "Well, it's a great subject," and that helped him also to write that song with it, with that idea.
That's cool.
But I stumbled into it because I was reading a couple of books about Mao, and his how he got into power and what all happened there in China, which is very interesting, but also very it's like a terrible story, what these people went through. And if I may quote him, when during the Korean War. Well, the Chinese were fighting, actually also against the Americans and other, because all nations were basically involved. But he actually said to, was Truman still president there? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think he said to Truman, I've got more Chinese than you have bullets. So that's how he thought about people. So that's and I had that in mind, when you write a song like that.
I gotta say I feel like that's one of the things I appreciate most about you as a vocalist, especially on since Hail of Bullets days up until all this, with Asphyx, is the way that you do pair the lyrics and the story with the song, to make it just that much more powerful, and it adds that much more because you can hear what you're saying, which is always nice in death metal if you do know if you can kind of grasp onto that a little bit, which you do well. So
thanks very much for that. Yeah, I put a lot of effort into it, and I think also. Yeah, because I read such a lot, and that it's a variety from history till even science fiction comics or fantasy stuff. It doesn't really matter. Everything I can get my hands on, and I think it's interesting, and that gives you a shitload of inspiration, really. There are also things like good documentaries on TV or stuff. And if I get an idea, then I just immediately write it down, and then I see if Paul comes up with some stuff, and then I can see if something matches the music to it, So I try to match the lyrics with the content of the lyrics with the music that's delivered. I always say I make the most simple example for it is that you cannot put the lyrics of Botox Implosion over 3 Years of Famine. It's just impossible. It's not going to work.
Right. That's a good point, and I love that too. Like you can go from one extreme to just another. Like it's
Also,
awesome.
also a little tear in a smile. You know, I mean, one moment you go like, oh my god, this is really like the deepest depression you can figure out, and then next time all of a sudden, boom, you go like, shit. Now I'm back in. I just have a laugh. You know, it's life's like that as well. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I love it, man. Well, listen, I really appreciate the talk, and I'll be playing this album for a while, so hopefully everybody else does as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really hope too. Yeah, because there will be a lot of other releases. I mean, we only started this year, so there will be a shitload of releases. So hopefully the people have not forgot about that. So like in December or something, you know, when they make their yearly polls, our favorite album, they're all like from November and December. The rest they don't remember anymore. Who knows? Who knows? We still have time to do another one in 1 year.
Yeah, there you go. Well, all right, man. Have a good weekend. Okay.
You too, Jason. Thank you very much. It was like you say, unprepared, but like I said, most of the time those are the most interesting ones.
Right.
Thanks a lot. You too. Have a good weekend and be safe, huh?
All right, man. Take care.